The coffee shop smells like cinnamon and regret. My phone buzzes for the third time in 5 minutes. Alexandra. Then Madison. I silence both notifications and stare at my reflection in the black screen. Two different profile pictures stare back at me from the lock screen widgets. In one, I'm Sophie with honey blonde hair and red lipstick. In the other, I'm Catherine with dark brunette waves and minimal makeup. Same person. Two completely different worlds. This wasn't supposed to happen. None of this was supposed to happen. 3 months ago, I was just Samantha. Plain, ordinary, working at a bookstore and living in a studio apartment that barely fit my bed and a dresser. No dating life to speak of. No social media presence worth mentioning. Just existing, really. Then my roommate Jenna convinced me to download that stupid dating app. Not just any dating app, though. This one had a twist. You could create multiple personas, multiple profiles, to match with different types of people. The algorithm supposedly helped you find better matches by letting you express different sides of your personality. Jenna thought it was brilliant. I thought it was insane. But after 3 glasses of wine and a particularly lonely Friday night, I created 2 profiles. Sophie was confident, outgoing, loved hiking and adventure sports. Catherine was bookish, artistic, preferred quiet coffee shops and museums. Both were me. Sort of. They were the versions of me that existed in my head, but never quite made it out into the real world together. Alexandra matched with Sophie first. She was stunning. Athletic build, warm brown eyes, infectious laugh. We met at a rock climbing gym. I'd never been rock climbing in my life, but Sophie had, apparently, according to her profile. I wore a blonde wig I'd bought for a costume party 2 years ago, different makeup than I usually wore, and somehow pulled off pretending I knew what I was doing. Alexandra was patient. She guided me up the wall, her hands steadying my waist, her voice encouraging me through every hold. That first date turned into a second, then a third. Before I knew it, Sophie and Alexandra were a thing. A real thing. Alexandra would text me good morning, send me pictures of sunrises from her morning runs, make plans for weekend trips to go hiking in the mountains. She was everything Sophie could want. Then Madison matched with Catherine. Madison was different. Softer somehow. She had these gentle green eyes that looked like sea glass, and she wore vintage dresses and collected old vinyl records. We met at a poetry reading in a cramped bookstore basement. I didn't need a wig for Catherine. I just wore my natural dark hair down, glasses instead of contacts, and the kind of comfortable oversized sweater that Sophie would never be caught dead in. Madison and I talked about books for 3 hours straight. She quoted Virginia Woolf. I quoted Sylvia Plath. We discovered we both cried reading The Bell Jar. Madison held my hand on the second date, kissed me on the third. She tasted like chamomile tea and honey. She was everything Catherine could want. Now I have 2 girlfriends. Neither of them knows about the other.
Neither of them knows about me.
The real me.
Samantha.
The person who somehow exists between Sophie and Catherine but isn't quite either one of them. My phone buzzes again. Alexander wants to know if Sophie can meet her for lunch tomorrow. Madison wants to know if Catherine is free for dinner tonight. I look at the calendar on my wall. Tomorrow I'm Sophie from noon to 3. Tonight I'm Catherine from 6 to 9. I've color-coded everything. Blue for Alexandra. Purple for Madison. White for the few precious hours I get to just be myself. The barista calls out a name. Not mine. None of my names. I watch a woman stand up and collect her drink, and I wonder what it's like to just be one person all the time. To not have to remember which wig is in which bag, which personality goes with which outfit, which version of yourself you're supposed to be at any given moment. I text Alexander back first. Lunch sounds perfect. Then Madison. Dinner would be lovely. I switch between the 2 messaging apps, careful not to mix up my typing style. Sophie uses lots of exclamation points and emojis. Catherine prefers complete sentences and proper punctuation. Even my texting has to stay in character. Jenna thinks I should come clean. She found out about the double life 2 weeks ago when she walked in on me changing wigs in our bathroom. I'd been so careful for months, but I got sloppy. Alexandra had moved up our date time, and Madison had extended our coffee meetup. I was literally running home between dates to transform from one person into another, and Jenna caught me halfway through the change. She didn't judge me. Not exactly. But she looked at me with this mixture of concern and fascination that made me feel like a science experiment gone wrong. She asked me why I didn't just tell them the truth. I didn't have a good answer. I still don't. The truth is complicated. The truth is that Alexandra fell in love with Sophie. Bold, adventurous Sophie who pushes boundaries and tries new things. Alexandra lights up when Sophie walks into a room. She plans these elaborate outdoor dates, surprises me with gear for sports I've never played, talks about future adventures we'll have together. She sees Sophie as her perfect match, her adventure partner, the person who finally understands her need for constant movement and excitement. And Madison fell in love with Catherine. Thoughtful, introspective Catherine who notices small details and remembers obscure poetry. Madison brings me first edition books she finds in antique stores. She makes playlists of songs she thinks I'll love. She reads passages out loud to me in bed, her voice soft and melodic. She sees Catherine as her soulmate, her intellectual equal, the person who finally gets her love for beauty in quietness. Neither of them fell in love with Samantha. Average, unremarkable Samantha who works retail and watches too much television and doesn't really know who she is most of the time. Samantha who is both too boring for Alexandra and too restless for Madison. Samantha who exists somewhere in the middle of everything but doesn't quite fit anywhere. So I keep playing both parts. I keep being Sophie on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturday mornings. I keep being Catherine on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Friday evenings. Sundays are my own except when they're not, which is increasingly often because both Alexandra and Madison want more time, more commitment, more of a relationship that feels real to them but feels like a performance to me. The performance is exhausting. Last week I almost slipped up twice. Once when Alexandra asked Sophie about her favorite book, and I almost mentioned Wuthering Heights, which is Catherine's favorite, not Sophie's. Sophie's favorite is supposed to be Into Thin Air or something equally adventurous. I caught myself just in time and said Wild instead, which seemed to satisfy her. Then 2 days later, Madison asked Catherine if she'd ever been rock climbing, and I had to pretend I never even considered it, even though Sophie goes twice a week now with Alexandra. The lies are stacking up. Small ones at first. Now they're getting bigger. Alexandra wants Sophie to meet her parents next month. Madison asked Catherine to go away with her for a long weekend to some cabin in the woods. Both invitations arrived in the same day. Both require me to be one person, fully committed. No escape route back to my double life. I finish my coffee. It's gone cold. I've been sitting here for an hour, paralyzed by my own duplicity. My phone buzzes again. This time it's Jenna. She sent me a screenshot of an article about a woman who got caught catfishing multiple people and ended up facing legal consequences. Her message is just 3 words. Be careful, Sam. I know she's right. I know this can't go on forever. But I don't know how to stop it. How do you tell someone that the person they fell in love with doesn't really exist? How do you explain that you've been lying about everything, not because you're malicious, but because you didn't know how else to be loved? That night I'm supposed to be Catherine for Madison, but I can barely keep my focus. We're at her apartment, and she's made dinner. Some complicated pasta dish with fresh herbs from her windowsill garden. She's lit candles. Put on a record. Miles Davis. Kind of Blue. It's perfect. She's perfect. And I'm a fraud. Madison looks at me across the table, her green eyes soft in the candlelight. She reaches for my hand. Her touch is warm and real, and everything I want. But she's touching Catherine.
Not me.
Never me.
Tell me something true, she says.
Something you've never told anyone else. My heart stops. I can feel the weight of all my lies pressing down on my chest. I could tell her.
Right now.
I could explain everything. But the words stick in my throat. Instead, I tell her a half-truth. A memory from childhood that belongs to Samantha, but fits Catherine well enough. Something about finding a bird with a broken wing and trying to save it. It's true. It happened. But it's not the truth she's asking for. Madison smiles. squeezes my hand. She thinks she's getting closer to me. She has no idea she's never been further away. After dinner, we're on her couch.
She's reading to me.
Some poem about longing and distance. Her head is on my shoulder. I can smell her shampoo, lavender and vanilla. I close my eyes and try to just be here, in this moment as Catherine. But Sophie keeps creeping in. I'm thinking about Alexandra, about the text she sent earlier planning our hiking trip. I'm thinking about how I'll need to leave here in exactly 2 hours to get home and prepare for tomorrow's Sophie date. I'm thinking about everything except the beautiful woman reading poetry in my ear. Madison stops reading. She shifts to look at me.
Something's different, she says.
You seem distracted lately. Is everything okay? I force a smile. Everything's fine. Just work stress. Another lie. Catherine doesn't have work stress. Catherine has a flexible remote job that gives her plenty of time for art and reading. Sophie has the demanding career. I can't even keep my cover story straight anymore. Madison doesn't look convinced, but she doesn't push. Instead, she kisses me. Soft and slow. The kind of kiss that makes you forget everything else. For a moment, I do forget. For a moment, I'm just a person being kissed by another person, and it doesn't matter what name either of us goes by. Then my phone alarm goes off. The discreet vibration in my pocket. That means I have 30 minutes to get home and change personas. I break the kiss. Make an excuse about an early morning. Madison looks disappointed, but walks me to the door. She hugs me goodbye, holds on a little longer than usual.
I love you, she says.
It's the first time she said it. The first time anyone has said it to Catherine. I should feel elated. Instead, I feel sick. I love you too, I say, because Catherine would say it. Because it's not entirely a lie. I do love her. Some version of me does. But which version? And does it count if the person saying it isn't real? The subway ride home is a blur. I'm running through tomorrow's schedule. Sophie has lunch with Alexandra at noon. That means blonde wig, athletic clothes, different makeup. I need to remember to be enthusiastic about the new climbing route Alexandra wants to try. I need to remember not to mention anything Catherine did tonight. I need to remember to be a completely different person in less than 12 hours. Jenna is still awake when I get home. She takes one look at my face and pours me a glass of wine without asking. She doesn't say anything, just sits with me on our worn couch while I stare at the wall and try to figure out how I ended up here. Have you thought about what I said? She finally asks. About telling them? Every day, I say. And it's true. I think about it constantly. I imagine the conversations. Alexandra, I need to tell you something about Sophie. Madison, Catherine isn't who you think she is. I play out every possible version in my head. None of them end well. What's the worst that could happen, Jenna says. It's not really a question. They hate me, I say. They feel betrayed. They tell everyone. I become that person. The liar. The catfish. The one who manipulated two people into loving versions of me that don't exist. Or, Jenna says, they understand. They appreciate the honesty. They give you a chance to explain. I want to believe her. But I've been lying for 3 months. 3 months of carefully constructed personas. 3 months of dates and texts and intimate moments built on a foundation of deception. That's not the kind of thing people just understand. The next morning, I'm Sophie. Blonde wig secured, athletic gear on, confident smile practiced in the mirror. I meet Alexandra at the climbing gym. She's already there, stretching, her muscles defined and beautiful. She sees me, and her whole face lights up. That smile. That genuine joy at seeing Sophie. It makes everything feel worth it and terrible all at the same time. We climb for an hour. I'm getting better at it, which is both a point of pride and another layer of the lie. Sophie is becoming real through repetition. The more I do these things, the more natural they feel. I'm starting to wonder where Samantha ends and Sophie begins. Lunch is at a health food place Alexandra loves. Everything is organic and green and tastes vaguely like grass. Sophie loves it, apparently. Samantha would rather have a burger, but Sophie doesn't eat burgers. Sophie is disciplined and health conscious. Sophie makes good choices. Alexandra holds my hand across the table. She's talking about the trip to meet her parents. It's in 3 weeks. She's excited, nervous. She wants it to go well. She wants them to love Sophie as much as she does. She keeps saying our future like it's a given. Like Sophie and Alexandra are going to grow old together. I nod and smile and say all the right things. But internally I'm panicking. Meeting parents is serious. Meeting parents means this relationship is progressing towards something permanent. Something that requires Sophie to exist indefinitely. Something that can't be sustained. After lunch, Alexandra walks me to the subway. She kisses me goodbye. Long and sweet and full of promise.
I'll text you later, she says.
I love you. It's the first time she said it too. Both of them. Both declarations of love within 24 hours. To two different people who are both me, and neither of them. I love you too, I say, because Sophie would say it. Because some part of me means it. But the words feel hollow. How can I love someone who doesn't know who I really am? How can they love me when they're in love with a performance? That evening I have a few hours to be Samantha. I sit in my apartment, no wig, no persona, just me in sweatpants eating takeout Chinese food and feeling like I'm disappearing. Samantha is getting smaller. The more time I spend being Sophie and Catherine, the less space there is for whoever I actually am. I'm starting to forget what that even means. Jenna comes home from work. She looks at me and sighs.
You look miserable, she says.
I am miserable, I say. Both of them told me they love me. Alexandra wants me to meet her parents. Madison wants to go away together. This is getting out of control.
So end it, Jenna says.
Break up with one of them.
Or both of them.
Walk away before it gets worse. I can't, I say, and I mean it. I can't break Sophie's heart by ending things with Alexandra. I can't break Catherine's heart by ending things with Madison. And I definitely can't break their hearts by telling them the truth. I'm trapped. You're not trapped, Jenna says. You're scared. There's a difference. Maybe. But fear feels pretty trapping when you're drowning in it. 2 weeks pass. I maintain the balance somehow. Sophie has coffee dates and climbing sessions and long walks with Alexandra. Catherine has museum visits and bookstore browsing and quiet dinners with Madison. Both relationships deepen. Both women become more important to me. Both lies become more elaborate. I'm starting to mix up details. Last week, I told Alexandra a story about my childhood that was actually from Catherine's fabricated backstory. She didn't notice, but I did. The edges are blurring. I'm losing track of which lies belong to which persona. At night, I lie awake trying to remember what I've told to whom. I keep notes on my phone. Lists of facts about Sophie's life. Lists of facts about Catherine's life. I review them like studying for an exam. The exam is my own fraudulent existence. Then it happens. The thing I've been dreading. The inevitable collision of my two worlds. I'm at a coffee shop with Madison. We're Catherine and Madison holding hands, talking about a book we both read. It's a Tuesday afternoon. Sophie doesn't have plans until tonight. I'm safe. Except I'm not. Alexandra walks in. She's with a friend. They're grabbing coffee after workout. She's in athletic clothes, hair in a ponytail, face flushed from exercise. She's beautiful. And she's 10 feet away from seeing Catherine holding hands with Madison. I freeze.
Complete panic.
I do the only thing I can think of. I turn away, angle my body so my back is to the door, pull my hair forward to hide my face. Madison notices. Are you okay? She asks. Fine, I say. Just thought I saw someone from work. It's a weak excuse. Catherine works remotely. She doesn't run into coworkers at coffee shops. But Madison doesn't question it. She's too kind for that. Too trusting. I hear Alexandra's voice behind me. She's ordering, making jokes with the barista. Any second now, she could turn around, could see me, could recognize something. The shape of my shoulders, the way I hold my coffee cup. Something that would make Sophie and Catherine collapse into the same person. Madison is still talking. Something about the book. I can't focus on her words. All my attention is on the sounds behind me, the footsteps. The scrape of chairs, the door opening and closing. After what feels like hours but is probably 3 minutes, I risk a glance back. Alexandra is gone. They got their drinks to go. I can breathe again. That was close. Too close. This can't continue.
Something has to change.
That night, instead of going to see Alexandra as Sophie, I text her and cancel. Say Sophie isn't feeling well. Then I cancel on Madison too. Catherine needs a personal day. I stay home. I sit on my couch as Samantha and try to figure out what I'm doing with my life. Jenna finds me there hours later. Still in the same spot. Still spiraling. I almost got caught today, I tell her. Alexandra almost saw me with Madison. She sits down next to me. What are you going to do?
I don't know, I say.
And I really don't. Every option feels impossible. Tell the truth and lose them both. Keep lying and eventually get caught. End both relationships for no apparent reason and break two hearts. There's no good choice.
What do you want? Jenna asks.
Forget about what they want or what you think you should do. What do you actually want? I want to be loved, I say.
The real me.
Not Sophie or Catherine. Just Samantha. Plain, boring, complicated Samantha. I want someone to know everything about me and still choose me. Not a performance. Not a persona. Just me. Then you have to let them see you, Jenna says. The real you. It's the only way. But what if the real me isn't enough? What if Samantha is too boring for Alexandra and too scattered for Madison? What if the only way I can be loved is by being someone I'm not? Jenna doesn't have an answer for that. Neither do I. The next day I make a decision. I'm going to tell them. Both of them. Not together.
Separately.
I'm going to come clean and face whatever consequences come from that. It's terrifying. But it's the only way forward that doesn't involve maintaining this unsustainable double life forever. I plan it carefully. I'll tell Alexandra first. Sophie will ask to meet her somewhere public but private. A park maybe. Somewhere we can talk without being interrupted. I'll explain everything. Show her pictures of myself as Samantha, as Catherine. Explain how it started. Apologize. Hope for understanding even though I don't deserve it. Then I'll tell Madison. Same approach. Catherine will be honest about who she really is. About Sophie. About the whole complicated mess. I draft the texts multiple times. Each version sounds worse than the last. How do you text someone to set up a meeting where you'll confess to months of lies? What's the right tone for that? Casual? Serious? There is no right tone. It's all wrong. Finally, I just send something simple. Can we talk tomorrow? It's important. To both of them. From both personas. Both respond within minutes. Both sound concerned. Both agree to meet. I spend the night not sleeping. Rehearsing what I'll say. Imagining their reactions. Trying to prepare for anger, hurt, betrayal. Trying to hope for forgiveness even though I know it's unlikely. Morning comes too fast. I'm supposed to meet Alexandra as Sophie at 10. But I don't put on the wig. Don't do Sophie's makeup. I dress as Samantha. Jeans and a plain shirt. My natural hair down. Minimal makeup. This is who I am. This is who needs to face the consequences. I get to the park early. Sit on a bench and watch people walk by. Couples holding hands. Parents with children. Dogs chasing frisbees. Normal people living normal lives without elaborate deceptions. Alexandra arrives right on time. She sees me, and her face shows confusion. She's looking for Sophie. Looking for blonde hair and athletic clothes. She doesn't immediately recognize Samantha. I stand up.
Wave.
She approaches slowly, uncertainty in her expression. Sophie, she asks. But there's doubt in her voice.
No, I say.
Not Sophie. My name is Samantha, and I need to tell you something. We sit. I start talking. I tell her everything. About the app. About creating two personas. About meeting her as Sophie and Madison as Catherine. About maintaining the double life for 3 months. About all the lies. She doesn't interrupt. Just listens. Her face goes through stages. Confusion. Disbelief. Hurt. Anger. I watch her process it all, and it's worse than I imagined. I'm destroying something beautiful, watching it crumble in real time. When I finish, there's silence. Long and heavy. Alexandra stares at me like I'm a stranger. Which I am, really. She never knew me at all. Let me get this straight. She finally says, Sophie doesn't exist. You created her. You've been pretending to be someone else this entire time. And you're also dating someone else. As a different fake person. When she says it like that, it sounds even worse than it is. I nod. That's accurate. Why, she asks. Just why would you do that? I try to explain. About feeling like I wasn't enough. About wanting to be loved. About how Sophie and Catherine were real parts of me. Just exaggerated. But it all sounds like excuses. Because that's what they are. Alexandra stands up. I can see tears in her eyes. She's trying to hold them back, but they spill over anyway. I fell in love with you, she says. With Sophie. With someone who doesn't even exist. Do you have any idea how that feels? To realize that everything was a lie? Every moment we shared? Every plan we made? I'm sorry, I say, and I mean it. But sorry isn't enough. Sorry doesn't fix this. Are you even attracted to women? She asks. Or was that fake too? Was I some kind of experiment? Some game? No, I say quickly. That was real. My feelings for you are real. The attraction is real. I'm just not Sophie. I'm Samantha. But the emotions were never fake. She laughs. It's bitter and broken. How am I supposed to believe anything you say? You've been lying to me for 3 months straight. About everything. Your name. Your interests. Your entire life. Why should I believe this is the truth?
She's right.
I have no credibility left. No foundation of trust to build on. I destroyed that myself. I understand if you hate me, I say. I understand if you never want to see me again. I just needed you to know the truth. You deserve that much. Alexandra wipes her eyes. She looks at me one more time. Really looks at me. At Samantha. The person she never knew. I don't hate you, she says quietly. I hate that I don't hate you. I hate that some part of me wants to understand. But I can't. I can't get past this. You made me fall in love with someone who wasn't real. That's not something I can forgive. She walks away. Doesn't look back. I watch her disappear into the trees, and a part of me goes with her. The part that was Sophie. The part that felt brave and adventurous and capable of being loved. I sit on that bench for an hour. Maybe longer. I need to meet Madison next. Catherine needs to confess to Madison. But I don't know if I can do it again. Don't know if I can watch another person's heartbreak because of my choices. But I have to. Madison deserves the truth too. Even if it destroys everything. I text her. Ask if we can meet sooner than planned. She responds immediately. Says she can meet now if it's urgent. Gives me the address of a cafe near her apartment. I force myself to stand. To move forward. To face the second conversation. Madison is already there when I arrive. She's at a corner table, 2 cups of tea already ordered. She sees me and smiles. Then the smile falters. She's seeing Samantha, not Catherine. The same confusion Alexandra had. I sit down across from her. My hands are shaking. I wrap them around the teacup to steady them. Catherine, she asks. Did you change your hair?
No, I say.
Because I'm not Catherine. My name is Samantha. And I need to tell you something that's going to hurt. I tell her everything. The same story I told Alexandra.
About the app.
The 2 personas. Sophie and Catherine. The double life. The lies upon lies upon lies. Madison doesn't cry like Alexandra did. She just gets very quiet. Very still. Like she's retreated somewhere inside herself where my words can't reach her. When I finish, she takes a sip of her tea. Her hands are steady. She's processing differently. More internal. Did you love me? She finally asks. Any version of you. Did any part of this feel real to you? Yes, I say. That's the truth. The feelings were real. Maybe the only real thing in all of this. I did love you. Do love you. Just not as Catherine. As myself. As Samantha. But I don't know Samantha, she says. I know Catherine. Quiet, Bookish Catherine who loves poetry and old records. That's who I fell in love with. If Catherine doesn't exist, then what was I in love with? A ghost? A fantasy? You were in love with a part of me, I say.
Catherine is me.
Just exaggerated. Refined. The version of me that I thought you'd want. But that's not love, Madison says. Love is knowing someone fully. All their contradictions and flaws and complications. You never gave me that chance. You showed me a carefully curated version of yourself and let me fall in love with an illusion. She's right. They're both right. I robbed them of the chance to love the real me by only showing them refracted pieces. What about the other woman? Madison asks. Alexandra. Do you love her too? I don't know how to answer that honestly. Yes, I say. In a different way. As a different part of myself. Sophie loves Alexandra. Catherine loves you. Samantha loves you both and neither of you at the same time. Madison finally shows emotion. Her eyes get wet. Her voice cracks slightly. That's not fair, she says. You got to love both of us. We only got to love half of you. Less than half. We got to love carefully constructed lies while you got to be two different people living two different lives. How is that fair?
It's not, I say.
None of this is fair. I know that.
I'm sorry.
Sorry doesn't fix it, Madison says. She stands up. Her tea is barely touched. I need time to think.
To process this.
I can't look at you right now without wondering which parts of you are real and which parts are performance. I don't know who you are. She leaves. Calmer than Alexandra, but just as final. I sit alone at the table with 2 cups of cooling tea and the wreckage of both relationships. Jenna asks me how it went when I get home. I tell her. Both of them are gone. Both relationships over. Both women hurt in ways I can never repair. She hugs me while I cry. Doesn't say I told you, so even though she has every right to. The next few days are empty. No texts from Alexandra. No texts from Madison. No Sophie dates to prepare for. No Catherine persona to maintain. Just Samantha. Alone. Learning to exist as one person again after months of splitting myself in half. I delete both dating profiles. Throw away the blonde wig. Pack up the different clothes. Clear out the elaborate system of lies I'd been maintaining. It feels like dismantling a set after a play has closed. All these props and costumes that created a world that never really existed. A week passes. Then 2. I hear nothing from either of them. I don't expect to. Why would they reach out? What is there left to say? Then my phone buzzes. A text from an unknown number. It says just one thing. Coffee? Tomorrow at 2? We need to talk. It's from Madison. My heart jumps. I don't know what to feel. Hope.
Dread? Both.
I respond yes, and spend the next 24 hours anxious and uncertain. I arrive at the coffee shop early again. Same nervous energy as the first confession. Madison walks in exactly at 2. She looks different. Tired maybe.
Sad.
But also determined. She sits across from me. Orders her usual chamomile tea. Waits until it arrives before speaking. I've been thinking about everything you told me, she says. About Sophie and Catherine and Samantha. About how you split yourself into these different personas because you didn't think the real you was enough. I nod. Brace myself for whatever comes next. I was angry, she continues. I still am a little. But mostly I'm sad. Sad that you felt like you had to perform to be loved. Sad that we live in a world where people feel like authenticity isn't enough. Sad that I never got to know the real you. I'm sorry, I say again. Knowing it's inadequate. I know you are, she says. And I believe that your feelings were real. Confused and complicated, but real. So I have a proposition. Start over. Not as Catherine and Madison. As Samantha and Madison. Get to know each other as who we actually are. No personas. No performances. Just 2 people seeing if there's something real underneath all the pretending. I stare at her.
Shocked.
Are you serious? I don't know if this will work, she says. Trust has been broken. That's not easy to rebuild. But I keep thinking about all our conversations. All the moments that felt genuine. And I wonder if maybe there's something worth salvaging here. If we're both willing to be honest. Truly honest. With each other and ourselves. I want to say yes. Every part of me wants to say yes. But I hesitate. Do I deserve this chance? Do I deserve her grace? Why, I ask. Why would you give me another chance after what I did? Madison looks at me with those sea glass eyes. Because I know what it's like to hide parts of yourself. To feel like you're not enough as you are. I've never done what you did, but I understand the impulse. And because even though Catherine was a performance, there were moments when I felt like I saw through to something real underneath. I want to know if that was real or if I imagined it. It was real, I say. Those moments were real. I was real in those moments, even if the name and the hair and the carefully constructed backstory weren't. Then let's find out, she says. Who Samantha is. Who Madison is when she's not performing either. Because I was performing too, you know. We all perform to some degree. I was trying to be the perfect intellectual girlfriend. The manic pixie dream girl who quotes poetry and wears vintage dresses. That's not entirely me either. That's the version of me I thought you'd want. We're both quiet, processing this. The idea that maybe neither of us was fully honest. That performance goes both ways. What about Alexandra, I ask. Are you okay with the fact that I had feelings for her too? That some part of me still does? Madison considers this. I don't know, she says, honestly. That's something we'd have to navigate. Jealousy is real. But so is the understanding that people are complicated. That we can care about multiple people in different ways. I'm not saying I'm okay with you dating someone else. But I'm saying I understand that your feelings for her existed. That they were valid. That doesn't erase what you and I might build together. I don't know what to say. This is more grace than I deserve. More understanding than I thought possible. Before I can respond, my phone buzzes. A text. From Alexandra. Can we talk? I'm ready to listen now if you're willing to explain more. I showed Madison the text. Complete honesty. That's what we're trying for. Madison reads it. Her expression is complicated.
You should talk to her, she says.
She deserves closure too. Or maybe more than closure. Maybe she deserves the same chance I'm giving you. To know the real you. To decide for herself if that's someone she wants in her life. You're saying I should tell her what you just offered me, I ask. I'm saying you should be honest with both of us, Madison says. About everything. About your feelings for her. About what we're trying to do. No more secrets. No more separate worlds. If this is going to work, it has to be built on complete transparency. That's terrifying, I say. It should be, Madison says. Real intimacy is terrifying. It's vulnerable and messy and uncertain. But it's also the only way to actually connect with another person. Not through performance. Through truth. I text Alexandra back.
Yes.
Let's talk. Name the time and place. She responds almost immediately. Same park. Tomorrow morning. Early. I agree. That night, I can't sleep again. But it's a different kind of sleeplessness. Not the exhausted anxiety of maintaining lies. Something more like anticipation. Fear still, but also possibility. The next morning I meet Alexandra. Same bench as before. She's there first this time. Waiting. She looks up when I approach.
Takes me in. Samantha.
Not Sophie.
Hi, I say.
Sit down carefully. Leave space between us. Hi, she says back. Then silence. Heavy, but not entirely uncomfortable. I've been thinking about what you said. Alexandra finally speaks. About how Sophie and Catherine were parts of you. Exaggerated, but real. I kept trying to figure out what was true and what was lies, and I realized maybe that's the wrong question. Maybe the right question is why you felt like you needed to split yourself into pieces to be lovable. I don't have a good answer, I admit. Insecurity, maybe.
Fear.
A lifetime of feeling like I wasn't interesting enough or exciting enough or anything enough. Alexandra nods slowly. I get that. More than you know. Do you know why I loved Sophie? Why I was so drawn to that version of you? Because she was adventurous, I say. Confident. Everything you wanted in a partner. No, Alexandra says. Because she was trying. Sophie was always pushing herself to try new things. To face fears.
To grow.
That's what I loved. Not the blonde hair or the athletic ability. The courage to keep showing up and attempting things that scared her. That's real. That's something you did, Samantha, not something Sophie did. You were the one showing up. You were the one trying. Sophie was just the costume you wore while doing it. I never thought of it that way. I always saw Sophie as the brave one and Samantha as the coward who hid behind her. What if they're the same person? Alexandra asks. What if the courage was always yours and you just needed permission to access it? Sophie gave you that permission. But the actual bravery? That was you. I feel tears starting. Not sad tears exactly. Something else. Recognition maybe. I'm still hurt, Alexandra says. The lying still bothers me. The deception about having a whole other relationship. That's going to take time to process. But I've been hurt before by people who were supposedly being honest. At least with you, there was something real underneath the lies. At least you cared enough to eventually tell the truth. Where does that leave us? I ask. I don't know, Alexandra admits. But I'm willing to find out. If you're willing to be completely honest from here on out. No more Sophie. No more personas. Just Samantha.
Whoever that is.
Even the boring parts. Even the parts that don't fit neatly into adventurous or intellectual categories. Madison said something similar, I tell her. About starting over. Getting to know each other as our real selves. Alexandra raises an eyebrow. You told Madison about me? I told her everything I say. Last night. After we texted. Complete honesty means she knows you exist. She knows I have feelings for you. She knows we're talking. And she's okay with that? I don't know if okay is the right word, I say.
But she understands.
She wants honesty. Even when it's complicated. Alexandra processes this. So, what are you proposing exactly? That we both date you? That you date both of us? That we all just see what happens? I honestly don't know, I say. This isn't something I planned. I thought I'd lost you both. I thought confessing would end everything. I never expected either of you to want to continue any kind of relationship with me after finding out the truth. Life is weird, Alexandra says. People are complicated. Sometimes the messy truth is more interesting than a perfect lie. We sit in silence for a while. Not uncomfortable, just existing together. Being present without performance. I'm not promising anything, Alexandra eventually says. I need time, space to figure out how I feel about all of this. But I'm not walking away either. Not yet. I want to know who Samantha is. The full picture. Not just the Sophie parts. That's more than I deserve, I say. Stop that, Alexandra says firmly. Stop deciding what you do or don't deserve. That's not how relationships work. We decide together what we want to build. What we're willing to work through. You don't get to preemptively punish yourself.
Okay, I say.
Then ask. What do you want? Alexandra thinks about it. I want honesty. I want you to introduce me to Madison. If we're both in your life, we should at least know each other. I want you to figure out what you actually like doing, not what Sophie or Catherine liked. I want to meet the person who exists when nobody is watching. And I want time. No pressure. No rushing into definitions or commitments. Just space to see if there's something real worth building. I can do that, I say. All of that. I want that too. We exchange phone numbers. Real ones. Not Sophie's number. Mine. Samantha's. It feels significant. Like a small step towards something authentic. Text me, Alexandra says when we're saying goodbye. Not as Sophie. As yourself. Tell me about your actual day. Your actual thoughts. No performance. Just you. I will, I promise. And then she leaves. But this time it doesn't feel like an ending. It feels like a very uncertain beginning. Over the next few weeks, everything changes. I text both Alexandra and Madison. As Samantha. I tell them about my boring retail job. My mediocre cooking attempts. The television shows I actually watch. The messy parts of myself I always tried to hide. The anxieties and insecurities and ordinary struggles of being human. Madison responds with her own truths. She's not always intellectual and put together. Sometimes she watches reality television and eats ice cream for dinner. Sometimes she doesn't want to discuss literature. She just wants to exist without having to perform depth. Alexandra shares her vulnerabilities, too. The pressure she puts on herself to always be active and achieving. The exhaustion of constantly seeking the next adventure. The fear that if she stops moving, she'll have to face parts of herself she's been running from. We're all more complicated than our persona suggested. More human. More flawed. More real. 1 month after the confessions, the three of us meet for coffee. Together. It's awkward at first. Madison and Alexandra sizing each other up. Me sitting between them feeling responsible for the tension. But then something shifts. They start talking to each other. Really talking. About books and hiking and how strange this whole situation is. They find common ground. Shared humor about dating the same person who pretended to be two different people. The absurdity becomes a bonding point rather than a source of conflict. By the end of the coffee, they've exchanged numbers. They're making plans to hang out without me. I don't know what that means for any of us, but it feels like progress. Like maybe honesty can create unexpected connections. 2 months in, we still don't have clear definitions. I'm not officially dating either of them. We're all just spending time together. Sometimes, all three of us. Sometimes just me and Madison. Sometimes just me and Alexandra. Sometimes Madison and Alexandra without me. It's unconventional. Undefined. But it's honest. 3 months later, we're at dinner. The three of us. Alexandra is telling a story about a disastrous camping trip. Madison is laughing. I'm watching both of them and feeling something I haven't felt in a long time.
Contentment.
Not the performance of happiness. Actual peace. This is weird, Alexandra says, looking between Madison and me. This whole situation is objectively strange. Completely bizarre. Madison agrees. But also kind of wonderful. I'm dating 2 women who both know about each other and are becoming friends, I say. 3 months ago, I was maintaining an elaborate double life. Now I'm living the most honest existence I've ever had.
Yeah.
It's weird, but it's real. Reality is overrated, Alexandra jokes. Then pauses. Actually, no.
Take that back.
Reality is underrated. Lies are overrated. This messy, complicated, undefined reality is exactly what we all needed. Madison raises her glass. To messy truth, she says. To complicated honesty, Alexandra adds. To just being ourselves, I finish. However imperfect that might be. We toast. 3 glasses meeting in the middle. 3 people who found each other through deception and chose to stay through truth. It's not a fairy tale ending. It's something better. Something real. The future is uncertain. We haven't defined what this relationship is or will become. Maybe it won't last. Maybe the complications will eventually be too much. Maybe we'll all go our separate ways. But for now, we're here.
Being honest.
Being vulnerable. Being ourselves without performance or persona.
And that's enough.
More than enough. It's everything.